as normally scheduled at the office. I just want to open up with some ideas and kind of set the tone for this call tonight. And I want to talk a little bit about goal setting and just being goal oriented. I think that all of us here have had experience with having a goal and then going after it. And every one of us here, I think, knows the feeling of the accomplishment once it's accomplished. And generally speaking, can you guys hear me okay? All right. So there is some background noise. If you could please make sure that you mute your line. That way we don't disrupt the call.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so somebody that said, "Oh yeah," in the background. We can totally hear you. Okay, so it's an easy thing to not do, to have a goal that you're aiming for consistently, and really it's a habit that needs to be built. It's really an art, and if we operate from our goals more of the time, then when we're dealing with others, they can typically sense that. And you typically have an opportunity to waste less time. You waste less of others' time, but more importantly, right? I mean, we waste less of our time. And time is one of those things. It's the only thing really that once you spend it, you can't get it back. So time is valuable. So the real question is, how often do we operate from our goals? How much are we attempting to be more goal-oriented? And our business can be a pretty tricky one, because you're reaching out to people. Initially, you're reaching out to people that you know and maybe you know very well. And what you have to come to terms with is this rejection that is, a part of our business. And it's not something that people can get over or get accustomed to. And it's something that you learn to deal with, but you learn to deal with it when you understand the importance of turning your fear into familiarity. Right? So the only reason that something is fearful is because you're not familiar with it. And the way we turn fear into familiarity is when we embrace process, when we completely surrender to process. When you embrace process, then you leave little room for the emotional part of rejection or the emotional exhaustion that rejection can bring. So what process am I talking about? Well, there are all sorts of processes that are privy to getting better in this business. And one of those that we talk about quite a bit is the client onboarding process. You also call that the sales process. And when you really master the client onboarding process, the whole idea of not knowing what to do next or maybe getting flustered or nervous, it's minimized quite drastically as long as you embrace the process. The proper introduction of yourself, the transition statement, the proper gathering of information. And the other process that you would embrace is your marketing process. So what does that mean? Well, we all understand that on a daily basis, we should have goals as well. So not only should we be operating generally from our bigger goals, the things that we want to accomplish in the next year, maybe the next 2 to 3 years, we definitely need to be operating from that. But there is also the daily goal, the daily goals that are going to get us there. And so when those daily goals include, for example, I need to reach out to 3 people today, or I need to make sure that I set up 4 appointments in the next hour, and that's going to be my, part of my daily goal. So the real question is, what's your process? What is the thing that you're embracing or that you've embraced in order to leave little to chance? And that's really what this is all about. It's about leaving very little to chance. And the way we do that, again, is we get more goal-oriented. So I'll share with you just a little bit about some of the goals that I operate from. And tonight, what we're going to do is we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you're after right now. Our platform is incredibly broad, as we all know, and our go-to-market strategies vary widely. Some of us are using Heartland, some of us are using videos, but whatever you're using, the hope is that you have a goal that you're going after, that when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about it. When you go to bed at night, you're thinking about it. And so one of my goals is I want 10 senior marketing directors in my team in the next 2 years. And so evidence that I am, practicing what I'm preaching is the creation of the onboarding program. I'm very well aware of the fact that not all of the SMDs that I acquire or help build are going to follow this program exactly. I get that. But what I bring it up because it's a demonstration that I believe in what I'm saying here. I think that we have to be process driven in order to be goal oriented. And as this quote says here, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So that's really what we want to hear today. And before I bring up Todd to really run the call here, I wanted to show you guys this short video that I found. It's pretty cool. It's really short, but this guy takes more of a scientific approach to the whole idea of goal orientation. So if you have problems with the audio, let me know. But this is, take a look at this.
Most people don't have a sophisticated understanding of the idea of process. They think of it as a kind of pure thing where you wait for something to come to you, where you wait to be inspired. And too many of my clients, too many of the people I work with wait far too long. And the problem wouldn't be if inspiration was only taking an hour to come or a day to come or a week to come, but people spend weeks and weeks and months and years waiting for inspiration. So I try to remind people that there are 2 kinds of process. There's, so to speak, pure process when inspiration comes. And then there's goal-oriented process. And I think a good metaphor or analogy for describing the difference between the 2 is the following one. If you let your garden do whatever it wants to do, it will produce weeds or whatever it wants to produce. And that's fine if you're happy to have your garden produce weeds. But if you want to feed your family, then you have to do this other process called cultivation. And cultivation is every bit as interesting as pure process. It's as every bit as useful as pure process, but it's something that you have to spend time thinking about and attending to. So I suggest to people that they start every day understanding for themselves what their goal is for the day and what the work wants from them. Sometimes the work demands a little research from you. Sometimes the work is beginning to say, you better look at the marketplace now and make sure you're doing something that the marketplace wants, etc. And so by paying attention to the goal you have in mind, you always have a container in place for meaning to flow, and you have a way of thinking about your work different from, well, when is something going to arrive? So I think it's very important for people to make this distinction between pure process and goal-oriented process. And if they're interested in really being creative and productive and effective, then they want to opt for the latter and understand much better for themselves how goal-oriented process works.
So one of the observations that I've made in being around this business and helping train different people for so many years is how much perception really just kind of rules our day. And people just give up way too quickly because of their perception. So when we're process driven or process oriented, then it really is all about the numbers and about, you know, just getting better at your art. So Todd, why don't you go ahead and jump in here? And you know, what we want to do, like I said, is we want to hear from you guys today. We want to know about a little bit about what your ultimate or bigger goal is. What are you operating from, or what would you like to operate from? Because some of you, we already know you haven't really done this work yet. And that's okay. That's kind of what today's about. But we want you to share. So Todd, go ahead.
You know, I think, Robert, that was a good segue to maybe offer up some sharing from everyone. And, you know, just and thank you for that kickoff there. You know, I think when we can share what our vision is with each other, it can enrich in our environment as well, because we could be supportive of each other with our goals and objectives. Because everyone's probably has a different vision for their business. And we're going to talk a little bit about you know, go-to-market strategy and some of that stuff. But I'd just be interested to take the training wheels off here, so to speak, and let some of the folks on this call, you know, just share a little bit what your goal is. What is when you think of this business, you know, what is your vision for the business? And then we can kind of back it into what is the best way to get to the marketplace that fits your vision. And then most importantly, how do you walk it backwards? What are the daily things that need to be done in your business to accomplish that? So who would like to share? I may pick on some people here, but are there any people who have the gumption to just share outright? I see no one's unmuted.
Hey Todd, it's Shantae. Can you hear me?
Hey Shantae, how are you?
Good.
Awesome.
So good evening, everyone. One thing I wanted to share as far as goals wise, you know, I always think about this. You know, I liked how Robert said, I firmly believe, and you believe in this business, and not just in this business, but any business, you literally eat, sleep, and it's all you think about. You know, as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking about, okay, who do I need to call? What email do I need to send? And when I'm going home at night, you know, going to sleep at night, I'm making a to-do list of, you know, the things that I need to do the next day. For me personally, and I'll just kind of share, and I'm just totally being open and honest and sharing from a personal perspective. You know, my biggest goal is to become an SMD, and I want to have that completed by September 30th. And what I wanted to share about that is that me being an SMD is not just for me, it's for a team. If anybody knows me, and, you know, I've been around going on 5 years now, you know, I'm 100% a team player. Whatever's asked of me, I'm there, I'm doing it. There's no complaints. It's done. And for me to accomplish SMD, what it would do is it would bring Angelo up to EVC, to Executive Vice Chairman. And that's something that I want to be the one to say, I did it. It was me, you know, out of his base shop. And we do have a couple other great people on the team who accomplish that as well. But, you know, just to say I was the one who made Angelo EVC, just top it off, would be awesome for me. As far as go-to-market strategy, that was something that I've been really struggling with the last, probably, I would say honestly, the last 6 months or so, because one thing about our platform is that it is so great. There's so many ways that we can reach and contact people that it can be a little confusing. It's like, how do I want to put myself out in the world? You know, at the end of the day, I do want people to know that I'm a resource, and I want people to know that I'm here to help them, but how do I put that message out there? So one way that I've done that that has been successful is using Heartland and setting up workshops. And honestly, 99% of the business, the recruits that I've had have come from Heartland. And honestly, if I didn't have that Heartland behind me, I don't even know how I'd be in the business right now. I don't even know where any of my points would come from, because Heartland just makes it so easy for me to, you know, to generate the contacts. You know, I've trained in the past, and people say like, Shantae, how did you get 900 people in your campaign manager? I got them all from Heartland, from table events and workshops. But one thing that I want to focus more on now is actually to really focus on women. You know, there's enough boys in the room in our industry. There's enough men who dominate the industry. So I was just thinking before this call, like, wow, you know, July 1st is around the corner. I don't want my next 6 months to be like my last 6 months. And I definitely want to focus more on helping women and encouraging them and empowering them. A lot of people, especially women, look up to me in the office already. So I just want to set that example and find other women to work with. So my goal between July, actually by the end of August, is to go 10 wide, to get 10 personal recruits. As we've been talking about, it's a volume game. So if I recruit 10, 2 or 3 might show up to the office every now and then, but I want that one person who really is going to go and, you know, go and get after it, that I can work with one-on-one. And from the recruits, I know that the production will follow, which will lead me to SMD. So that's my goal, and that's all I wanted to share.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Shantae, for that. Anyone else would like to share? As I'm pulling up, I don't know, can everyone see this, by the way, when I'm sharing?
Yes.
Okay. So these are just some things, and as we're sharing here, you know, I just want you to think, hey, there's, as Robert said, there's a lot of go-to-market strategies that we have, and all a go-to-market strategy is how do you interface with the target market that you are seeking to attract. You know, so there's business to consumer, which would be all these things here, whether it's videos, Blue Book campaign, you're on social media, your internet marketing, you have booth marketing, you do home BPMs, you do client service. These are all ways to get to a client scenario or a teammate scenario. So in any of these cases, and what Shantae was talking about is Heartland, you know, which it's more of a business to business to consumer approach where there's a little bit extra step there, but your target audience there is a gatekeeper, someone who can lead you to many more people. And so and then you have the Big Four strategy with the professionals that we've talked about when Brian Loiso was coming out here. We have, of course, Heartland getting into companies, something that Patrick and Frank does. So one of the things that you want to be thinking about is which of these, and I would be specific of which of these strategies you think is going to help you hit your vision. And don't try and shotgun approach this, because I think we could spread ourselves too thin oftentimes. Instead, really just think about what you can be just a master of. And if you can master something over and over again, it's way better than being, you know, you could be a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? You know, so what are you going to master of these go-to-market strategies as you have your vision? So anyone else would like to share? Frank, did I hear you unmute?
Hey, Todd.
Can you hear me, Todd?
Yeah. Who's that? Frank, you go second. Who's the first person there?
Todd, this is Odie. Can you hear me?
Hey, Odie, go ahead, man.
Okay, I'm in the process of driving, so.
Okay. You're all process driven. You're literally driving process right now.
Absolutely. Listen,
okay.
I just got out of a meeting actually with a young man that I heard on the radio. And so when we talk about the whole business to business process and everything, he's already an agent, an independent agent, and he also does music, which is something that we both have in common. And so I just got through meeting with this young man and everything, and kind of presenting not only the Blue Book, but kind of our campaign manager and everything. And he absolutely loved what we're doing. And so when you talk about a vision of where do you see yourself and everything, for me, I see myself doing business to business and then consumer as an approach and everything, as opposed to some of the things that has been done in the past. The reason why for me that's a better option for me to focus on entirely is because there are already connections that are assumed. One, that you're a business owner or that you're a business person and everything. And so once that is established and everything and known, then it's like, okay, well, let me share what it is that I'm doing. Let's see if we can work together. Okay, whatever it is that you're doing. So when we talk about the accountants and we're talking about other financial professionals and things of that nature, those are the people that I am solely focusing on. I know in the past and everything, my team has been, I've focused on people that, kind of the traditional way of going with friends and families and things of that nature. And everybody has not necessarily latched on to the vision or even created a vision for themselves for this business. But for me, going business to business and everything is what I'm solely focusing on at this point. I'll keep you guys up to date as to bringing this gentleman into the office and everything when we're doing that. But yeah, I was very happy with this appointment and everything, and this is where I think I want to plant my roots here.
Very good. And so what you've described is really what your strategy is going to be focused on, the business to business approach to get to the consumers through a gatekeeper where you can manage one relationship that can lead you to many more. It's a little bit slower perhaps approach, but my question to you is, what is your vision with that approach? In other words, where do you see ultimately, where do you see yourself in the business here? What do you,
in the business, I can answer that. In the business and everything, I'd like to stay focused and hit that MD target and everything. I mean, to be able to grow that, be able to have professionals and things of that nature, in multiple states, and and have many ways of being able to achieve getting customers into my book of business.
Okay. So. And I think you'll be able to. That's good, Odie. I think it's you'll be able to, as you think and ponder on that more, and just draw out the specifics of that more. What that's going to take. I think that's the walking it backwards part. It's the part that says to you, all right, how many people do I actually have to contact for this to occur, right? And then it's drilling down to even our daily habits, which is our daily habits is what makes us or breaks us, right? And that's at the end of the day what has us starting to have the thing move forward or just kind of stay stagnant. So that's the next discussion that we're going to have, is what are some of those habits. But I appreciate you sharing, Odie. Thank you.